Okay, moving along, now we have the Hiph'il, which is a pretty common verb stem. The pa'al is by far the most common. Then after that is probably the nifal, then the Hiph'il, and the pl, followed by the hitpa'al, and then pu'al and hofal after that. Okay, now the Hiph'il is a slightly interesting one in that you have your Hirik Yod, which is a part of the normal part of the Hiph'il verb stem sign. Hirik Yod between the second and third root letter. Okay, but the difference about the Hiph'il is that there's no hey on the beginning because the hey, like the noon of the nifal, is a weak letter. And when you add the prefix on the beginning, the hey gets claustrophobic and doesn't know what to do or where to go. Unlike the noon, the hey cannot just curl up into a ball and get eaten by the following root letter, which is actually, if you think about it, really helpful because it would be hard to tell the difference sometimes between a dagesh forte in the first root letter if it was sometimes a hey and sometimes a noon. You can pretty much be certain that not every time, but almost every time a dagesh is in the first root letter, it's because a noon has been assimilated. There's one common word that it happens with a lamed, but that's a total anomaly. So the hey gets claustrophobic and doesn't know what to do. It does not get curled up and eaten by the first root letter. What happens is that the yod prefix, now this is my definition, the yod prefix, which kind of looks like a hammer, starts pounding on it. I mean, the yods are not terribly kind and congenial consonants. So the yod starts hammering on the hey, knocking it lower and lower and lower and lower and lower down until all you can see is the very tip of the hey, which is all that's left under the prefix, which is the prefix vowel. Fancy that. The prefix vowel for the imperfect Hiph'il is a patach. And you can think of it, if it's helpful, if it's a helpful image for you, you can think of it as being just the tip of the hay that got smashed down under the ground or under the bottom line of the writing line, right? So the hay gets smashed down, and all you can see is the patach. Or if you have a second person or a third feminine form and you have the tav as your prefix, instead of the hammer from the yod, you could think of this little boot on the end of the tav being like a foot, and it squishes the hay down until it's just standing on top of it. Okay, so that's our Hiph'il imperfect. You've got a patach under the prefix, followed by a shava to close the syllable. Here, because we have a tav, it's tak. Third masculine singular would be yak. And the final syllable, teal. So a-e are the signs of the Hiph'il imperfect, the vocal pattern. But the two main signs, visually, what you want to look for, you've got a patach under the prefix and a hirik yod between the second and third root letters. In certain situations, that hirik yod might be reduced to a tsere, in which case your two signs would be the patach under the prefix and a tsere between the second and third root letters. It doesn't happen all the time, but on occasion it will be a reduced form. So that's your Hiph'il.